All right, welcome again, everybody. We've got a Friday afternoon session hanging out with Group 7. They're going to be talking about the Department of Human and Health Services. So I'll go ahead and turn the time on over to them. Take it away.
Hey everyone, so as Brother Gage said, we are doing our presentation on the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. My name's Kellen, and I guess everyone will introduce themselves as we go on. Next slide. So what is the HHS? So the HHS is the U.S. government's main agency for protecting the health of all Americans and providing essential human services, and they look out especially for those who are least able to help themselves. And their mission, as you can see, is to enhance and protect the health and well-being of all Americans. And they fulfill that mission by providing for effective health and human services and fostering advances in medicine, public health, and social services. Next slide.
All right, guys, my name is Manny. And as mentioned before, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or Human Health Services, oversees 29 other agencies throughout the country and make sure that they follow the standards and provide health. They provide health services, and they look over such organizations such as the CDC, the OIG, the FDA, the ACL, and ACF, and others shown here on the slide. And we will talk more about those other agencies later on. Next slide. And here's the main structure of the HHS. As you can see, the secretary is on top, and it branches out to each of the different organizations that the HHS looks over, as you can see here. Next slide. And here we see, kind of cut off with a picture, but we see the different leaderships position and on the HHS, this is the secretaries for each organization. And the ones that we're going to be focusing on today will be on Thomas E. Price, the Secretary of HHS, Daniel R. Levinson, the Secretary of the OIG, and Ann Shushat, the CDC Acting Director. Next slide. And you see the Secretary of the HHS is Thomas E. Price, and is the head of the Health and Human Services. He advises the President on matters of health, welfare, and income security program, and he focuses on carrying out approved programs and presenting it to the public. Fun fact about him, he just barely got sworn in as the Secretary of the Health Department on the 10th of February this year. He previously served as a U.S. representative for Georgia's 6th Congressional District, and he values efficiency, being effective, accountability, and working together with other communities. Next slide.
I'm Shonda. The various agencies of the HHS administer a wide range of health and human services. They exist to conduct life-saving research for the nation and strive to protect and serve all Americans. On the next two slides, I've highlighted a few different agencies. The first one, the OIG, which is the Office of Inspector General. The current leader is Daniel Levinson. There will be more about him on a future slide coming up with his responsibilities. The OIG is here to protect the integrity of the HHS programs as well as the health and welfare of the program participants. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the leader is Ann Shushat, as was mentioned, and there will be more about her also. They're headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, and they're part of the Public Health Service. They provide public health of the nation by providing leadership and direction in the prevention and control of diseases and other preventable conditions, and they respond to public health emergencies. The next one there is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. The current leader is Stephen Ostroff, and it was established in 1906 when the Pure Food and Drugs Act gave regulatory authority to the Bureau of Chemistry. And it is there to ensure that the food is safe, pure, and wholesome, and that human, animal drugs, biological products, and medical devices are safe and effective. And the electronic products that emit radiation are also safe. The next is the ACL, which is Administration for Community Living. The current leader is Dan Berger, and this division is fairly new. It was established in 2012 by bringing together a few different divisions: the Administration on Aging, the Administration of Developmental Disabilities, and the Office of Disabilities. And it's there to increase access to the community support and resources for the unique needs of older Americans and people with disabilities. Next slide, please. All right, the ACF is Administration for Children and Families. The current leader is Amanda Barlow, and it's there to promote the economic and social well-beings of families, children, and individuals and communities through a range of educational and supportive programs in partnership with states, tribes, and community organizations. Next, we have the ASPE, which is the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation. The current leader there is Lena Bush, and it advises on policy development, legislation development, policy research, and a few other things there, economic analysis. The SAM HSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration. The current leader there is Kana Enomoto. And this division helps improve access and reduce barriers to high quality, effective programs and services for individuals who suffer from or at risk for addictive and mental disorders, and as well as help for their families and communities. Next, there is the ASPR. The current leader is George Korch. Oh, we can go back one slide, please. Sorry, almost done. George Korch, and this division advises on matters related to bioterrorism and other public health emergencies. Next slide, please.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Chelsea. As it says here, we have the Secretary of the OIG. This is Daniel E. Levinson, and so what he does is that he essentially leads an independent and objective organization of over 1,500 professionals who oversee the nation's $1 trillion annual investment in federal health and human services programs. This includes the oversight of the CMS, CDC, FDA, and others. He is a lawyer and certified fraud examiner and is clearly qualified for his position. Next slide.
So the CDC is probably one of the most well-known components of the HHS. The CDC works 24/7 to protect America from health, safety, and security threats, both foreign and in the United States. And listed below are the ways that they help, that they plan on helping Americans. So they are to be diligent stewards of the funds entrusted to our agency, provide an environment for intellectual and personal growth and integrity, and base all public health decisions on the highest quality scientific data that is derived openly and objectively, and place the benefits to society. Next slide. So the acting director of the CDC is Anne Choquette. She actually just got put in as acting director last month, so in January. In this position, she's responsible for providing guidance and leadership to the CDC's scientific and programmatic portfolio. She's been with the CDC since 1988, where she came and served in the beginning as an epidemic intelligence service officer. Next slide.
The HHS has more than 100 programs and services such as social services, HIPAA and your health rights, health insurance, emergency preparedness and response, and much more. The purpose of these programs and services is to protect the health of its citizens, and more importantly, to provide for those that are unable to or least able to help themselves. Next slide. And the basics of CMS we have here, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, falls under HHS, but branched off into its own agency back in 1977. They are located in Baltimore, Maryland, and have the goal of helping those in need. They truly care about strengthening America's healthcare system. Next slide. And that's it.
All right, very good. Good job, very well organized, great information, very concise. I enjoyed your presentation a lot. Let's just do a couple Q&As for this, question and answers, and then I'll let you go. So one thing I was curious about is you'd mentioned that the Secretary of Human Health Services was just recently put into office for that. How are they selected? How was he?
Well, as knowing other head departments of the United States are selected, there are nominees by the president and they're voted through Congress. Is what I'm thinking, the same way that he got selected.
So the new president was the one that played a part in selecting him for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. How about, you mentioned that there are multiple subsections of the HHS. What were the two big ones, would you say, that most people are familiar with?
I would say the FDA and the CDC.
Yeah.
The Family and Children's Services, that's a big one.
One of the ones that I had no idea about was the OIG, the Office of Inspector General. I had just never heard of it before.
And also, I think we're all pretty familiar with the CMS, at least those that actually use it. I think that's a pretty popular one too.
All right. So I guess just one last question is, with this class, it's an introduction to healthcare administration. I realize a lot of students, they're in this because they either want to be like a PA or a physician. They might want to be within healthcare administration or even public health. Obviously, this falls into the public health sector, I would say, of this class. What are some lower level positions that fall into play here in regards to HHS? I know that was really weird. Let me know if that didn't make sense. But if you're looking into a job or career lower levels once you graduate from school from public health, what's something you can go into through here? There we go.
So that's actually something that I'm wanting to do is go into the government work for public health. So I would say that that's pretty entry level as far as how this goes. I'm looking at working for the Maricopa County in Arizona. So I'd say that's pretty like along the same lines, just not as grand.
Yeah, I agree. What would you be doing with them then?
So they have a lot of different branches. The one that I would really want to work with is the schools area where they can work on preventing teen pregnancy, tobacco prevention, things like that. It's more healthy living.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good that could be done through these services, whether you're high up as the Secretary of Human Health Services, or like you were saying, Chelsea, just working for the government on lower levels there too. There's a lot of benefits and a lot of rewards to it as well. So thank you guys for your presentation. Did any of you want to add anything before we let you go?
Nope.
I just was interested to see just that we brought up the different government positions. Someone told me that each public or local Department of Health follows the same bylaws, and so no matter where you go, they follow the same bylaws. Especially in the CDC, when you're working with epidemiology, they all follow the same bylaws. So no matter where you go, you basically have the same job.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's important to point out. I'm glad that you did, because when we talk about this type of stuff, CDC or whatever else, this is a government-run institution. When we talk about Medicare, Medicaid, that one's a little bit of a hybrid where you get funding from the federal, but there's also state regulations along as well. So what he's talking about there is, with the CDC or whatever else, that has a big umbrella under the whole nation and everything. And so those bylaws are going to be across the board the same responsibility, same type. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you. Anybody else? All right.
We're good.
Okay, great job. I appreciate your hard work on this, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.